Welcome back, squad. Here's how I'm a draft in 2024. Let's hit it. Welcome back, squad. Like I said, this is how I'm going to draft in 2024, this upcoming season. Take it or leave it. There might be some stuff you love. There might be some stuff you disagree with. That's totally fine. Do what you think is best. But these are my opinions. I'm going to offer you my 2 cents. Like I said, take it or leave it. Let's jump right in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit for a quarterback. And by sit for a quarterback, I mean I'm just going to wait for one for a little bit of time. I will either take Josh Allen or I will maybe take Jalen Hurts, or I will sit for a long time until probably the Kyler Murray range is what I would imagine I would sit for. Because then we have guys like Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. If you wait even further, you could get Justin Herbert. If you're feeling really risky, you could get Trevor Lawrence. But again, his price is so low, throw a dart, right? If you want a rookie, you could get Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. And I honestly don't think the gap between like a Kyler Murray and a Patrick Mahomes is going to be worth the 50, 60 pick difference that it's going to be to get Mahomes, right? So I'm waiting for a QB this year, unless it's like Josh Allen and he has to like fall to me perfectly. So I'm waiting for a quarterback this year in my drafts. Next thing I do is I'm going to load up on running backs. I did this a lot last year as a strategy, and having that running back depth is actually so crucial when you get into the dog days of this season. Right, week 2, you're like, look, I have these 4 great running backs on my roster. I'm starting 2 of them and I have 2 on my bench, and it's great and it's cute, But injuries will come. That's going to have to force you to put people in that you don't want to play. So I'm not saying reach early for running backs necessarily, but I am saying make sure you get a lot of running back depth, because that's bound to be a ton of injuries at the running back position. This will happen every year. It happened at quarterback too last year for some reason. I don't think that'll happen as badly. Running backs always get hurt throughout the season in fantasy. It's the position I try to have the most depth at, especially during the dog days of the season, like I said, because then you can trade some of these pieces if you have too many. Everyone will always need a running back. There's always going to be a dude in your league who doesn't draft enough and is desperate for a good running back, and you can sell him Tony Pollard and get a very good deal back because he's desperate. So draft running back depth. Next thing you say, well, I want wide receiver depth too, and that's true. I also want that, but I'm going to sit a little bit later for some of that. There's a lot of like still really good wide receivers you can get at later prices. You could get Jameson Williams, you could get Tyler Lockett, you could get Darnell Mooney, right? There's a lot of these late round guys that will cost you very little. A late round sleeper I like is Demarcus Robinson, right? Like there's a lot of depth there that's going to cost you little to nothing. So I'm going to wait on those wide receivers. I'll get my good guys, right? I'm going to go and get like a Garrett Wilson, right? I still want my stud wide receiver, but the later I go and the later I can wait for the depth, for the bench pieces, that's what I'm going to do. There are some late round flyers there, but the risk is minimal, right? Because you're drafting in the 13th, 14th round for a lot of these guys. But I think the reward can pay off well. Now, I'm not saying you should start Jerry Jeudy. God, no. But if you want him as a bench stash, I like that. And I like Jameson Williams at that price. And I like these guys who are these wide receiver twos who can come in and make a huge impact for their team. And you're paying half the price that you would for like an Amon St. Brown. Obviously, they're not going to finish at wide receiver 1, but there are plenty of good flex fill-in options for bye weeks, injuries, all that good stuff. So I'm sitting for wide receiver depth. And then one more thing I think that I like to live by is that ADP is not a Bible, right? ADP is good guidelines and kind of a good filter for how you want your draft to go generally and how you can expect it to go, very roughly. But I don't live and die by the ADP. I'll give you an example. So according to ESPN, Rachaad White sits at ADP 38, really 39. He's like high 38. I think that's too late for him, right? I think he should go higher than that. That's just me. I'd probably take him in the low 30s, like worst, honestly. And I think there's a lot of that hesitancy to reach for a guy or to risk him falling to at a later pick. The risk I get of he might not be there when I want him to be there. If I sit another round, he might be gone. And that's very valid and that's very true. So then the alternative is you reach up to get him. And I think the fear of people is they see, White at 38 and they say, well, I'm pick 30, like 29 or 30, right? Like, why am I reaching for this dude when I might be able to get him at 40 or 41, right? And I think that's a valid concern. And there's always that, like, you're always playing that risk reward of like, how late can I wait for this guy to get him? But I'm also totally okay if you want to draft Rachaad White at like 32. Like, that's totally fine with me. Like, go get your dude, right? I really like Rachaad White this year. He has a rookie running back to back him up. He's still going to be the guy. Even if he loses like a 10 to 15% snap share, I still like him. So he's just not very sexy. He's not a Derrick Henry. He's not like a Devon Achane, right? Like, he just puts his head down and just does his thing. So I'm fine reaching a few picks to get a dude who you really like if you don't think he's going to be there in the next round. So don't be afraid to reach a little bit. And then I can't believe I still have to say this. Don't take a kicker or a defense until the last 2 rounds for the love of Justin Tucker is going at ADP 96 right now. You know who's below that? Rashee Rice. Huh? What are we doing? What are we doing? This happens every time. And I should know this. I should know better. I'm going to get mad. And I need to just focus on the mission. Don't take a kicker or a defense early or in the middle. Take them at the end, please. For the love of God. Anyway, that's how I'm going to draft this season. Take what you want from it. Maybe you find some good information. Maybe you're like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. Great. More power to you. Love that. Love you. Peace out, Girl Scouts. We'll talk to you soon.